A new area to watch out in the Atlantic for tropical development and Labor Day trouble in the form of thunderstorms, heavy rain, and generally unsettled conditions that may interfere with some of your holiday weekend plans. Those are the two big weather stories as we blast through the end of August into the first month of a brand new season. Yeah, fall's coming, folks, and so is a brand new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World, and it starts right here, right now, with your tropical update. Welcome into the channel, everyone. Jason here with you on this beautiful Thursday, August the 28th. I hope it's beautiful where you are. Can you believe we are about to turn the page on meteorological summer and welcome in a brand new season? Although it's felt like fall for many of us already across the central and eastern portion of the country, and will continue to do so over the next several days to maybe a couple of weeks. So got a lot of fall in store, folks. I've been tracking weather for over 40 years. That's right, 40. And I can tell you this has been one of the more unusual Augusts that we've seen. And we're going to get into your holiday weekend forecast. I'm going to break down. I spent the morning looking at all the data. I'm going to break down all of the weather in terms of what you can expect where you are, where you might be headed. I know some of you are headed out to family or the beach or whatnot. We're going to look at all of that coming up in just a minute. I'm going to have your weather IQ question, and we're going to look at that big sunspot cluster that's turning toward Earth. Now, you know what that means if you've been watching this channel, so we're going to look at that. We're going to start here in the tropics with a brand new limon, a big area of interest here off the coast of Africa. Tropical wave is going to move off in the next couple of days, and it's going to get into this area. You could see some slow development. I've got all of this data that you're seeing on the screen, all these words in a crawler going across the bottom of the screen. So you can watch that to your heart's content and rewind it if you need to. There goes post-tropical cyclone Fernand. It's headed way out east-northeast at 23 miles per hour, zipping along with zest. That comes from Curious George Learns the Alphabet. You should read that to your kids. That's a good book. Teaches you how not to misbehave. Well, I don't know if it does that or not, but it does. Will teach you the alphabet. At least that story will. But Margaret and H.A. Ray, some good books back in the 50s and 60s, folks. Those are good classic books. In any event, this is not a classic tropical map for the approach of peak hurricane season in any event. We've got this one area of interest, nothing else going on out here. If we take a look at the satellite image, check this out. Got a tropical wave approaching South America here. It's just on a beeline right here to toward Venezuela. We've got several little areas of clouds and rain throughout the tropics, another wave here. But over here in the eastern Pacific, that's where all the action's been. Quite a few tropical cyclones and disturbed areas of weather out there. And check this out. Right here off the coast, we've had our big fall frontal boundary that's now draped across southern Florida into the central Gulf. Got a new boundary moving through here. You can see that easily pick that out with the cloud cover and the higher infrared cloud tops here. On the infrared view, I mean. And then another boundary coming in. So boundaries everywhere. We've just got reinforcing shots of cold air. And as these frontal boundaries sink south and hang up off the coast, as they will do over the next 10 to 14 days, we're going to see areas of potential tropical development. So we're going to have to watch this region very, very closely. Although the westerlies are pushing out and everything should go on out to sea and we shouldn't have to worry about anything even if it does develop. The European model, I'm not going to take you through every model. There's just no reason to do that. The models really don't develop very much out here in the Atlantic. You can see our MDR way down here. This is where all of the activity is, at least right now. And then off the coast of the United States, we get a couple of little lows that pop up. The GFS does something similar to that. Europeans not all excited. Here's our little wave that the Hurricane Center is marked of interest. Europeans not all excited about that. As we go way out in time, you really don't see anything going on except for a couple of little waves of low pressure developing off these frontal zones hanging off the southeast coast. Anything that develops out here in the MDR is just going to probably get shredded apart or have to battle dry air all along the way until we get way toward the end of the period, and then we get a few turning out to the north. That's just one operational run. The GFS is very, very similar. It's a little bit more enthusiastic about some homegrown activity. If we take a look here at the European ensembles, really not a ton of members develop something, maybe 30% or so develop something on that wave, and they kind of bring it far north. As you can see, the consensus here, not too much activity off the southeast coast, but a couple members do. If something gets out here, it's going to be hard for it to get all the way to the coast at this northern latitude here already out here in the middle of the Atlantic. So we got to watch it, but I'm not all that concerned. The GFS is even less enthusiastic way out here, much more robust in terms of its prediction of something developing off of either in the Gulf or off the southeast coast. So anyway, that could be a rainmaker to the coast and over Florida. Other than that, I don't really see a pattern that's going to slingshot anything back into the States if something happens out here. So that's what's going on in the tropics. Just to give you an update, showery activity and squally weather will continue through the islands as these waves make it in there, but no big tropical storms that you need to be concerned about right now. That's your tropical update. Going to have your weather IQ question, see how that's holding up. Then we're going to get into your weekend forecast and see what the weather has in store for you as we go into Labor Day. My friends, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. The button's right down below at the bottom of the screen, just begging to be hit. It's real easy to do. A lot of people that watch these shows don't subscribe, and you might as well if you enjoy the content and turn the notifications on too. That will let you know when I put a new video out, and I do that about every single day. And give the content a like. If there's something I can pray about, please put it in the comment section. I pray for you guys sincerely every single day and appreciate all the support here. And hit the like button as well, the little thumbs up button. All of those things help YouTube push the content out to more people. If you like what you're seeing, help me grow the channel. It's the only way we can do it. Let me know where you're commenting from too. Always enjoy the comments and I'll respond to each and every one. In the meantime, got to get to your weather IQ question. Now this is a hard one, folks. If you don't know this, it's okay. It's just a minor piece of weather trivia that you can use to impress your friends at the water cooler. But here's the question. What is the lowest temperature ever recorded in the contiguous U.S.? That means all the states that join together. So kick out Alaska, kick out Hawaii. They're not part of this question. All right, so here are your choices. Minus 45 at Mount Rainier, Washington. Minus 66 at Mount Washington, New Hampshire. Minus 96 at Peters Sinks, Utah. Or minus 70 at Rogers Pass, Montana. Those are the choices. If you know it or think you know it or just want to guess, type it in the comment section. If you're wrong, who cares? I'm wrong all the time. Hopefully not so much about the weather, but in any event, I'll reveal the answer to you at the end of the show. But right now, I've got to reveal your holiday weekend forecast that's coming up right this minute. I'm going to start you off and show you the alerts map, and your eyes may be drawn to where mine are immediately. Right here between Kansas and Oklahoma, we've got this big batch of green and red colors. These are flash flood watches and flash flood advisories where the light green is, and even flash flood warnings where you see the red. So take it slow, folks. We're seeing some water on the roadways out here. Just slow it down, drive carefully, get to where you're going in a safe fashion. Also, keep it slow up here in the Midwest and the Missouri Valley where we've got fog being a problem this morning. So that'll burn off as the morning wears on, but just keep in mind that's what's out there today. And then, of course, flood watches up here in Washington where we've got some canyons that have some scarring from burns and things like that. 1 inch per hour rainfall rates can be expected here and could see some debris flow. So just keep an eye on things up there. Even got some red flag warnings right next to that. Winds are frisky and brisky through the Great Lakes and back into the southern plains, gusting into the 20s this afternoon. So hold on to your hats. They are not too bad elsewhere around the country. But what in the world are we seeing on this map? If we can get to it, look at this. We haven't seen this in a minute. Severe weather, a slight risk of it, in fact, over here near the ArkLaTex. Remember that boundary I showed you before that's kind of slipping through this area? Well, thunderstorms are going to fire up this afternoon. Could see a couple of supercells move along that boundary, present a tornado threat with a couple of brief spin-ups before things kind of cluster up and we get into wind and hail time, and could see some wind gusts and some hailstones out here. Nothing too widespread, but certainly pay attention, particularly back here in eastern Colorado as well. Here is the water vapor imagery. I show this from time to time, but it really clearly shows you where the boundaries are. Here's one kind of off the coast now, moving south of Florida. This is one of those that I showed you before on the satellite image. There's the secondary one kind of pushing slowly to the south, and then a third one coming in across the border in the north. These will provide the focus for showers and thunderstorms as energy moves along in the flow, and you can see these little yellow areas indicate energy out ahead of those, and that's where you see the showers and the thunderstorms and cloud cover and things like that. Taking a look at the radar, what we've got out there this morning is heavy rain here in the southern plains extending back into the lower Mississippi Valley, and that will persist through much of the day and even spread to the south later on this afternoon. Chicagoland, you're in the clear over here toward Indianapolis, seeing some rain, and then moving into central Michigan and eventually into Toronto and Ottawa and Quebec and even into western New York as the night wears on. We'll see this line move through there. San Diego and up here in just north of Seattle near Vancouver and up into the Rocky Mountains and the northern Rocky Mountains. We're seeing some rainfall this morning. So take it slow if you're experiencing rain this morning, folks. As we take a look here at the predicted radar over the next several hours, we'll see that rain in the center of the country kind of move down toward the lower Mississippi Valley and give you guys a few showers this afternoon. And over here into the Northeast, we're going to see rainfall pick up as we head through the afternoon in western portions of the Northeast. Showers and thunderstorms breaking out all across much of the western portion, the interior west, really. San Diego and Southern California seeing a good bulk of rain coming in off of the Pacific. A little piece of tropical energy working in there as well. And then as we go through the day, you can see those thunderstorms kind of break out. Supercells will eventually merge into clusters here in Texas and Louisiana and parts of Arkansas as well. Colorado, see a few supercells out there. And all of that activity will diminish as the night wears on. That will push down here to the Gulf Coast states and set us up for kind of a rainy weekend as we head on in toward Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As we get on into Friday morning, you can expect to see various batches of rainfall still working through the country, but predominantly over here in the in and around the Gulf Coast states and then through the Northeast as well. Now, taking a look at the holiday weekend, I'm going to roll this back. I'm going to show you the mid-level flow because this is important to know what happens at the surface. Got this big trough and this big upper level low right here and big trough in the east. You can see that little ridge out here in the west. Watch what happens as we go through the weekend. This is Thursday, Friday. You see these little bright colors from time to time. They kind of move to the southeast in the flow as that trough just sort of lingers over the east. Those pieces of energy, here's one in South Dakota as we get on into Sunday, that will be moving south as well. So all of these pieces of energy are moving south, and they're just going to provide along those boundaries a focus for widespread showers, clouds, and potentially heavy rain at times. As a matter of fact, over this area, the southeast, going to see a risk for excessive rainfall over the next 3 days. The exact placement of that risk is still TBD, as the energy is a little nebulous, and you've got a couple of boundaries to work with, and timing of the day matters as well. So just keep that in mind as we go through the afternoon today through the weekend, really. If we get on into Friday afternoon, we're seeing where the boundaries are and we're seeing where the bulk of the precipitation is. That's down here across the Gulf Coast into Florida, up through the Intermountain West and over toward the Four Corners and the Rocky Mountains and over here in the Northeast. This is Friday afternoon, folks. We present this along Saturday evening. Still seeing some rain hanging on through the night into the Gulf Coast area and into the plains as well. Go back into Saturday morning, things start to heat up through the afternoon, and really could be a washout along the Gulf Coast and in toward the western sections, even the eastern beaches of Florida. As we get into Saturday afternoon, could really see the thunderstorms and showers pick up. So you have to dodge those. It's going to be kind of a soggy day Friday across much of the Gulf Coast states. So we have to see a little wave of low pressure here. Also into the Northeast Friday, and as we get on into Saturday, the same as well. And in through the plains, that's your big area, your secondary area of disturbed weather through the weekend. So it's going to be kind of rainy through the plains this weekend, rainy across the Gulf Coast states, rainy in the southeast through Florida. Things will start to settle down maybe a little bit across the northeast, and on Sunday looking good across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley and back into the west as well, where things kind of dry out. But still across the Gulf Coast states Sunday afternoon, plenty of moisture, a lot of cloud cover in the southeast. If you're headed down to the beaches, I'm sorry to say you're probably going to be out of luck here along the Gulf Coast in terms of getting a lot of sun, picking up, working on that suntan. But at least you'll enjoy the water and get some nice food at some of the seafood restaurants down there along the coast. And as we get on out into Monday morning, roll it here toward Monday morning. Not a lot going on. That'll pick up though as the afternoon wears on and start to see some instability build across the southeast again. So going to have to dodge some showers, going to have to dodge cloud cover, particularly across much of the southeast. It's going to be a cloudy Labor Day weekend. Hopefully many of us can stay dry, but you will see some rainfall along the beaches as we get toward the end of the weekend as well, particularly along the southeast coast. So that's what we've got going on out there. Temperature wise, let me roll this back here. I've rolled everything ahead, so I was looking at it in advance. But as we get down into Thursday and Friday, we've got plenty of chilly air relative to normal across the northern and eastern nation's midsection and all of that. Got another punch coming in through the Great Lakes. You see those purples showing up. South Texas, South Florida, and the Pacific Northwest are free of fall for now, but that will change, I'm sure, as we go through the season. Even getting on in here towards Saturday and Sunday, we're seeing that push continue to move south through the course of the weekend. Even places like Houston getting out of the 90s as we get on into Sunday, and then northern Florida getting in on some of that drier air relative to normal eventually, probably not through the weekend, but eventually out in time. Could see that push down there, but certainly cooler than normal with cloud cover and showers and just general cooler weather than normal coming in as we get on into Monday. Still hanging on to cooler than normal anomalies. That's temperatures basically in the 80s across the south and 70s across the north. That's what we're looking at, maybe even some 60s up toward the Great Lakes. Taking a look at the probability of precipitation in 1-day increments, folks, this is good to show because it kind of tells you where you can expect the bulk of the rain. This is 1/10 of an inch or greater. Probabilities in the reds are basically 90 to 100%, and the oranges, yellows and oranges are 50 to 80%. And this is for Friday. So you can see up here in the Northeast and down here in the lower Mississippi Valley and across Florida and up here in the northern Rockies, that's where we can expect to see the bulk of the rainfall on Saturday. Or on Friday, rather. What about Saturday? Well, that moves into the Central Plains, Gulf Coast states, buried down here, Florida. You're in trouble. Eastern Maine got some rain up there on Saturday. That'll be moving out, though. Unfortunately, that boundary is just going to linger off the southeast coast and along the Gulf Coast. And Florida is going to be a washout probably on Sunday for the most part, and along the Gulf Coast beaches as well, back in the lower and mid plains as well. And then as we get on into Monday, finally, kind of things break apart, get more showery and spotty as we get on into Tuesday, and then back down here, or I'm sorry, this is Monday rather, South Texas and then to Florida, and then a little bit of higher probability showing up here in the Mid-South too. So that's your probabilities for precipitation as we go through the week. I want to show you the low temperatures too, because this is fun. We show you the high temperatures a lot. This is low temperatures today. Or Friday rather, lows in the 30s up here in the Great Lakes, 40s around that, 50s and 60s across much of the nation. Look at this, cool air, cool fall air is dominating. At least it'll feel like fall in the morning as we go on out there in the morning tomorrow. And then Saturday, much the same story, and Sunday, much the same story as well. Still warm and muggy across the south, but that's what's going on. Looking at the 6 to 10 day, September the 2nd through the 6th, it gets you into the first week of September. Below normal centered across much of the interior section of the nation, with warmer than normal temperatures surrounding that in a ring, much above in Alaska. When it's above in Alaska, a lot of times it's cooler in the United States and above in Hawaii too. 6 to 14, or the 8 to 14 days, kind of similar. It's just the colors are a little bit more muted as the signal decreases a bit. Above normal precipitation in northern Alaska, above normal in the desert Southwest and the southern plains where you need the rain, and above normal across the northern mid-Atlantic coast as well. So much of the rest of the nation is either near normal or slightly above. And that's what's going on, of course, across the course of the holiday weekend, folks, and over the next 7 to 10 days. So hope that helps you out. We're going to look at those sunspots now and see what they're doing, because they're growing in complexity, and that could impact us as we go through the week. Space weather has been unusually quiet, folks. Well, hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. We got these big sunspots turning in. I'm sure they were responsible for launching the big solar flares and CME on the backside of the sun a few days ago, but they're turning toward us now, and they're still complex and kind of gaining complexity, so something to keep our eyes on. KP index down here toward 1 and 2, so no geomagnetic storm conditions. Proton flux nominal. No X-ray activity really going on to speak of, so no big solar flares or anything there. You can see the sunspots, kind of the bright spots on the sun. Here they are on a different depiction. The one I'm concerned about is 4197. That's kind of the big one. You can see here, it looks kind of like a big cancer blot on the sun, but if you've got negative and positive and negative again, and you've got some intermingling of those charges, that could pop off a solar flare here at any time. So we've got to keep our eyes on that, and the magnitude of that would determine the impact. So we're going to watch and see. Earthquake front, nothing too big going on here, just a couple of shakes up in Oregon, maybe Nevada. Sure nobody felt that. Nothing new on the volcano front. Moon going up to 25.7% now, waxing crescent on its way to full moon status. It'll be a full corn moon, September the 7th. And wake up, Alaska. We've got daylight approaching you, still dark in Hawaii, but everybody else under a bright, sunshiny day. And folks, if you're driving around basically in the lower plains, lower Mississippi Valley today, watch out for rain and flooding, also up in the northwest and down into Southern California around San Diego. Those are your trouble spots today, and maybe you could see a few thunderstorms around the ArkLaTex with severe weather, so watch out for that. But other than that, that's the show for today. We've got to get you the answer to our IQ question. Here it is, folks. What's the lowest temperature ever recorded in the contiguous U.S.? Out of all of these choices, the correct answer is minus 70, Rogers Pass, Montana. That occurred January the 24th, 1974, just over a month before Cold Rain was born. I'll let you do the math on that, folks, but there you have it. That, however, is not the coldest temperature ever recorded. The coldest temperature ever recorded in the United States was at Prospect Creek, Alaska, which we left out, on January the 23rd, 1971. And I actually had that number here. I don't remember it off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to leave you hanging on that. But I think it was like, I want to say it was like minus 86 or something along those lines. I'll find it out and I'll give it to you tomorrow. I had it and I just didn't write it down. Sorry about that. All right, one more thing you need to know. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech at the Lincoln Memorial during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. It was a defining moment in civil rights in the civil rights movement, and boy, I'm really reading this terribly. Sorry about that. It was a defining moment in the civil rights movement and one of the most famous speeches in American history, as you know, delivered to around 250,000 people, and that happened today on August the 28th in 1963. Now you know an important historical event, you know the weather, and as always, you know that Cold Rain will monitor the weather for you. Weather runs 24/7, but we got you covered right here, right now. Cold Rain's Weather World 4814. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday, folks. We'll be back to wrap up the week tomorrow with a special Friday edition of Cold Rain's Weather World. In the meantime, you take care and have a wonderful day. P.S. -80 was the lowest temperature ever recorded in the United States at Prospect Creek, Alaska, 1974, and you didn't even have to wait until tomorrow. Take care.